Next up is Blair from Dialogue Tech, the leader in call tracking and analytics for enterprise marketers and agencies. In this talk, he's revealing how to leverage high-quality phone leads to improve your overall marketing results. In other words, you'll get to peek under the hood of successful case studies from marketers that have used data from calls to optimize ROI for digital ad platforms. Blair, the stage is yours.
Hi Ad World, and welcome to this session on the secret to better digital advertising in 2021, drive better phone leads. My name's Blair Symes. I'm the Vice President of Product Marketing here at Dialogue Tech, and we do marketing attribution and analytics for phone calls. So I've only got you for 20 minutes today, so I'm going to do a crash course on something you probably aren't hearing a lot about at this event. You've probably heard a lot of best practices on optimizing digital advertising, probably for what happens online. But I'm going to give you some tips I hope will help you drive a significant improvement in your digital advertising ROI by focusing on perhaps something you're not doing as much, which is optimizing for the phone calls that your digital ads are driving. So in the next 20 minutes, I'm going to talk quickly about why calls matter to digital advertising success, ways to drive more valuable phone calls from your digital advertising, ways to reduce your cost per conversion, and ways to convert more callers to customers. Now, because I only have you for 20 minutes, I'm going to focus just on the main two digital ad channels, Google search ads and Facebook ads. These are by far the two best in terms of ad spend. You can see on the left, Google Ads drove around $104 billion in search advertising last year, with Facebook nipping at its heels at $86 billion. So I would assume that most of you are running paid search ads with Google. Probably many of you are also running Facebook ads as well. So if you're doing those two things, chances are you're probably you have goals that look like what's on the right. So depending on whether or not you treat all conversions as the same, or if you consider some conversions more valuable from your digital advertising. So if all of them are the same, you're probably looking to generate more conversions at scale and reduce your cost per conversion. If, on the other hand, you find some types of conversions more valuable to your business, you may be willing to spend more for those, and your goal might be to drive more of those valuable conversions and revenue at scale and to increase your return on ad spend. So let's dive in. This should look familiar to most of you. It's something we all do. We all optimize our digital campaigns for online conversions. So we run Google Ads, search ads, or Facebook ads with the goal of driving an online conversion. So someone can click on your ad and visit your landing page or your website. They can then go ahead and fill out a form to either purchase something, or to request you contact them or schedule an appointment, or request a quote, whatever your conversion is from your digital advertising, depending on your business. You then probably have that data live in whatever digital ad platforms and MarTech tools that you're using, like Google Ads or Google Analytics, Search Ads 360, tools like that. And then with that data, you then take action by measuring the volume and value of the conversions you're driving from each source to see what's doing the best for you. You calculate those cost per conversions and return on ad spend. You then take steps with that data to optimize to drive the most conversions or the best conversion value and ROI. And many of you are probably retargeting some of those website visitors who come to your site and perhaps didn't convert. So hopefully this looks familiar to how you're optimizing your digital advertising now for online conversions. But the real question is, what happens when somebody, instead of converting online, converts by calling? So you can see in this example, instead of clicking on that form to schedule a service online, they are engaging with your ads by visiting your landing page and calling. Now, when this happens, ask yourself, are you able to pass that same level of data from the call into those platforms you're using for online conversions? And are you able to take the same level of action based on the call data? Are you measuring the volume and value of the phone call conversions you're driving from each source? Are you using that data to calculate, the cost per call conversion and your return on ad spend? Are you able to use that data to optimize to drive the most conversions, whether online or over the phone? And are you able to retarget callers who didn't convert the same way you're able to retarget website visitors? So a lot of that is what we're going to cover today. In this example, you were looking at GE Appliances. I chose them because they're a customer of Dialogtech, and they've got a great case study on our site that I've just summarized here. Basically, GE Appliances Repair and their agency DAC, their goals for paid advertising is to drive, appointments, service appointments to repair GE appliances like washers, dryers, refrigerators, freezers, whatever it is. If there's an issue and they want consumers to schedule service appointments. Now, many of those come in over the phone. So they basically use Dialogtech to attribute when somebody calls from their paid search advertising, they use Dialogtech to attribute the keywords that drove that phone call, and they use Dialogtech to analyze those calls to see why the person's calling. Is it calling for an appointment? What the outcome of that call was? They pass that data into Search Ads 360 to help optimize their paid search spend. And you can see some of the results here. By doing that, they've increased phone conversions by 41% while decreasing their cost per conversion by 50%. So something we all want to do. I know that you've probably been optimizing on your online conversions for a long time. At some point, you might have hit a plateau where you don't feel like you're getting any significant improvements in ROI, in return on ad spend. If you start doing the same for phone calls, you could see a nice jump. And that's what we're going to cover today. So let's first start with what the impact of phone call conversions are on your digital advertising performance. Depending on your industry, you are getting phone calls from your digital ads, whether you're measuring those calls and optimizing on them or not. You can see some statistics from various studies from Google and from LSA and from other sources here that show that for many industries, a phone call is an important part of the digital advertising customer journey. Whether that phone call happens at the beginning, where someone calls to ask a question before going on to convert later online, or whether that call is the last step where they've been to your website, they've researched, and they're calling to schedule an appointment or to make a purchase. You can see here across some of the major advertising verticals and industries, from auto parts and sales to financial services, retail and healthcare, home services, and on and on. A high percentage of conversions from online advertising do come in over the phone. This is especially true when people are engaging with mobile ads. So you can see on the left, most advertising today is being, most of the clicks and conversions are coming via smartphones and mobile devices. You can see some of the stats on the left again. 61% of search ad spend for Google ads is coming from mobile. And for Facebook, it's just completely dominant in terms of mobile. 95% of revenue is coming from clicks on mobile devices. And you can see when somebody engages with your mobile advertising on their smartphones, they are more likely to call. So Google says that consumers who use mobile search are 39% more likely to call a business. They say that over 80 million phone calls are driven directly from Google search results every single month. And those phone calls will convert to customers 3 times more than web clicks. So phone calls are, for many industries, a very valuable conversion for you to optimize on. So let's dive into the meat of this presentation. I'm going to give you 8 data-driven strategies to drive more phone leads and revenue from your digital advertising. So these are some of the things you can do in order to drive more calls, drive better calls, and convert more of those callers to customers. So the first step is to make it easy for consumers to call you from your ads. Now, Google and Facebook do a good job of giving you options for this. So with Google, they've got many different formats that can include a call to action for a phone call in the ad itself. You should all be familiar with Google Ads call extensions on the left. All you do is enable those so that your ad can have an option below that if someone doesn't want to click on the text and visit your landing page and your website, they can just call you directly and convert directly from your search ads. So a great option for people who are ready to convert right away and don't need to go visit your site. They also have call ads, which used to be called call only ads, where the main call to action, as you can see in the middle, is a call to your business. They have local services and search ads. So local services ads is sort of its own animal. It's only for certain industries like home services or legal and other service-related industries, but you can have Google verify you and you can have your ads show up at the top of search results for those industries, and you pay for the call or the lead that you generate. You can also have local search ads, which are ads that can show up based on location in the Google Maps or in the local map pack on the homepage of the search results. And of course, Facebook does also have that same option where you can use a call now button as your call to action. Your site where someone is ready to engage with you by calling, they can click on that ad and call you directly from the Facebook ad. You should also make it easy for consumers to call you from your website. So for those people that click through and visit your site for more information, there are many easy ways to add calls to action for a phone call on your site, especially your mobile sites where people are more likely to call. So you can see some examples from left to right here where you can include a phone call or a call button in your header and footer of your pages. You can include a call option on your Contact Us page. If you've got a find a location type of a page, you can include clickable phone numbers there so people can call you directly from those pages. And if you're sending people to a landing page from your Google Ads or from your Google Facebook search ads, Facebook ads, you can include a prominent call to action to call you to generate more of those phone calls. Now, once you're generating calls, you should be able to get attribution and analytics data, not just on what's driving those calls, but the quality and value of those calls to your business. So here's a quick snapshot of what that looks like. When somebody calls you in step one, call tracking data can tell you who the caller is, their name, their location, their address, their phone number, any digital click IDs like a GCLID that comes with that particular caller. You can also see what drove the call, the attribution data. So what channel, ad, or campaign, what search keywords drove the call. If they visited your website, what page they landed on, where did they click through, and what page did they eventually call, the day, time, all of that great data. The call can then be analyzed, the conversation, to see if it was answered, and based on what was said on the call, was it a quality lead? Did it convert to an appointment or to a quote request or to an order, depending on what your industry is and what a conversion is for you. AI can automatically analyze those conversations for you at scale to determine the intent and the value of that particular caller. You can then activate all of that data into the platforms you're using for your digital advertising, whether it's a tool like Dialog Text that captures the data, you can see reports in there, or if you're using Google Ads, you can pass that data into Google Ads or Facebook, or tools like the Adobe Advertising Cloud or Search Ads 360, Adobe Analytics, whatever you're using to measure and optimize your digital advertising. So you can start optimizing on what's driving the most valuable phone leads to your business. If you have a CRM system where you keep revenue data, you can pass that call data into there and then connect it to the revenue outcome from the call and pass that call attribution data with revenue into those tools. So then you can optimize based on the calls that are driving the most revenue to your business as well. So step 4, you've got all this data. You can start analyzing and looking at reports. This is a sample Dialog Tech report based on channel. So what channels are driving not just the most calls, but the most phone leads, the most calls that converted during that conversation, and the most revenue. You can start understanding from a phone call perspective what's driving the most valuable calls to your business. You can then benchmark the value of those calls by source. You can drill down into the keywords or the particular ads for that channel as well, and really understand what's driving the most value over the phone to your business. Then you can use that data along with the online data you already have to optimize for what drives the most valuable leads, both online and over the phone, to your business. So here's a quick example of that. Two customers of ours, Silverman Learning and Terminex, they're passing data from Dialog Tech, keyword level call data, into Search Ads 360 in one case and Marin on the other. And you can see some of the results. Just by doing that, they were able to increase phone leads and decrease their cost per lead and increase their return on ad spend. So if you're not doing any of this right now and you've hit that plateau in terms of what you can achieve by just optimizing for what happens online, this is a great way to drive better results by doing the same strategies for what happens for phone calls. So if you are doing Google Ads smart bidding, Google says that around 80% of their advertisers are running some form of smart bidding, where Google is taking the data it has, the data that you have in your account, and optimizing to hit whatever goals you have set up with your smart bidding. So by passing not just the volume of calls from at the keyword level into Google, but the value of those calls to you. Was it a lead? Did it convert on the call? How valuable was that call? How much revenue was coming in from that call? By having that data live in Google Ads, you can then enable the Google Ads algorithm to optimize to drive the best results for you, whether that's maximizing conversions or driving more, a higher return on ad spend. Whatever your goal is set up in Google for smart bidding, it can take in that call data into account and do those optimizations for you to drive better results. Here's a quick example of a Dialog Tech customer, Comfort Keepers. They're a senior care provider. They've got around 700 franchisee locations across the U.S. By passing data not just at the keyword level of what keywords a caller engaged with, but also using that AI data to determine if the call was a sales lead and converted on the call, or if it was perhaps a job applicant, someone who was looking to become a caregiver, if you've got campaigns for that, or if it's some other type of call that you're not looking to optimize for. By telling Google, what type of call it was at the keyword level, they were able to drive optimizations and increase sales conversion calls by 50% year over year, while also increasing job applicant calls, which was a goal of theirs, by 14% year over year. Strategy number 6 would be, if you're running A/B tests on your website, your landing pages, if you can run similar A/B tests using call data. So this is an example of Sylvan again, where they ran a simple test for toll-free numbers versus local numbers to see what drove more phone calls. Just by switching to local numbers in this test, they drove 3 times more calls from their landing pages. So those results might not be what you get depending on your industry, but there are many tests you can run just on the phone calls you're driving, or just include phone calls in whatever A/B tests you're doing in order to really pick what's driving the best results to your business. You can also, in your retargeting programs, include phone leads. So if you're right now retargeting people on Google Ads or on Facebook for website visitors, for example, you can include the phone call as part of that. So in this example here, it's an auto repair. This person called an auto repair center looking to book an appointment for an oil change. They asked questions about pricing and availability, but they didn't go ahead and book that appointment. So because you know that this person is a good lead and in the market, you can make some decisions based on how to retarget them. You can, add them to audiences in Google Ads because you also have their phone number. You can pass them in there and say, okay, this is a valuable lead who is interested in oil changes. Let's go ahead and perhaps pay more for them when they search for your brand or for oil changes or for any keywords that are related to that. You can also maybe use bid modifiers to ensure that a call extension shows up more often since this person has called before. For Facebook advertising, perhaps you can decide you want to not only show this person ads, but also show them a special offer to get them to re-engage with you and book that appointment. So, we've talked a lot about optimizing to drive the most valuable calls, but it's also true that the experience that your call center, your locations, your franchisees are providing those callers when they call will impact the results of your marketing. So here you can see some stats. Unanswered calls are still a very big problem. 20% of calls to businesses today across industries do not get answered by anyone. And you see some stats here where 85% of callers who aren't answered will not call you back. They're basically a lost lead. Now, the same thing is true with a bad call experience. So if, people who, if your locations, your call center are not providing the best experience, are not answering questions the right way, they're not asking for appointments, they're doing something that's turning off the caller, that can lead to bad results as well. So 52% of good phone leads don't convert on the call, and 84% of people who have a bad call experience will not do business with that company again. So it really is imperative as a marketer who's spending money to drive, phone calls to a location or to a call center or to a franchisee or to a client if you're an agency, understanding not just the volume and the value of the calls you're driving to each of those locations, but are they being answered and are they converted? So you can see here a report by a Dialogue Tech report of showing locations and the results that are happening over the phone. So you can see understanding for each one, the quality of the phone leads you're driving, as well as what percentage of those calls are converting to opportunities or to appointments or to quote requests or whatever a conversion is, and then what percentage of those calls are being answered. And you can look and see where the problems are. So in some cases you can see, oh, wait a second, this location, I'm not driving a high volume of phone leads to them compared to others. Or this other location is not doing as good a job of converting good leads to customers. What's happening? What's happening there? Or, this location is doing a poor job of answering the calls that I'm sending them. This is a way for you to not only prove to a location who's, complaining that they're not getting enough leads from from the marketing team that yes, you are, but the issue perhaps is who's answering the calls or not answering the calls and the performance that those people answering the calls are doing. So an example here of a Dialogue Tech customer who saw great results from this. This is a large auto repair and tire provider. They've got tons of locations across North America. They use Dialogue Tech reports to see how well locations are answering and converting phone calls to service appointments. And, when they first saw this data, it really opened their eyes. They didn't understand that, at the time, over 30% of their calls were not being answered. So there was a clear issue across locations. And by making answering calls a priority at the location level, by making some adjustments to their marketing so they're not spending money to drive calls to locations that aren't open at the time, they were able to reduce unanswered calls across locations by 33%. And just by doing this, just by having and ensuring that people are answering the phone calls you're spending money to drive to the locations, they increased revenue by an estimated $6 million each month from what were used to be previously unanswered phone calls. So I hope that was of value to you. I know there's a lot there. If you just take away one thing from this presentation, I hope it is that consumers are calling you now from your digital ads, and if you get the right data and take the right optimization steps, you can improve your results by optimizing on what's driving the most valuable phone leads to your locations, businesses, or clients if you're an agency. So I want to thank you for attending this session. I hope it was valuable. If you want to learn more about those case studies I went over, you can visit the Dialogue Tech website at dialoguetech.com, or if you're interested in booking a demo and seeing what the call data could look like for your business, we'd be happy to show you that as well. Thank you.